Since nothing seems to be going on, we can just carry on with what we were doing. The bell ringing was probably just a mistake. Let's get back to work and stay focused. Because this is independent work, working solo. I don't think we need to talk it out. How is this paragraph organized? Is it written in chronological order, or does it show cause and effect? Tell me what you think. Actually, now that I look at it again, that information doesn't really show up in this paragraph. Since it was my first time, I didn't quite have the hang of it yet, so it took much longer than I expected. The wire kept slipping and coming off the hook. If I were just about 5 centimeters taller, it would have gone a lot more smoothly. Excuse me, just passing through. Squeezing by, excuse us. Thank you for coming to me without starting a fight, without yelling, and for raising your hand to tell me what happened. I'll talk it over with that student and figure it out. Only Chromebooks go on the shelf. Everything else needs to be put away in your backpack or set down on the floor. Jackets should be hung up on the hanger. Our first priority is helping P stay in the classroom and participate. Our general approach is to avoid pulling students out and instead support them so they can keep up with the lesson. Even if they don't understand everything, what they pick up little by little can help later on. That said, if the work feels too challenging, if the pace is too fast, if the student needs to pause and review, if they need time to read out loud, if they're feeling overwhelmed, or if the rest of the class needs a quiet test-like environment, then we move the student to another room for support. Whenever he suddenly covers one ear, he almost always lets out a loud sound. Covering his ear is a signal, so if we step in early, things usually go more smoothly. He is autistic and tends to have higher anxiety than his peers. Even when he yells, I don't get rattled. I stay calm, reassure him, and sometimes rub his hands or arms while we work through the task together. Giving gentle pressure like rubbing or a firm hug can be very grounding for him. It's similar to how cats love squeezing themselves into small boxes. He always reads out loud, and when that happens, please say, another student is reading right now, so let's follow along quietly with our eyes. His front tooth is loose and crooked like in the picture, so it would be hard to pull it out at home. I think it needs to be taken care of by a dentist. Would it be possible to be seen today? With a long holiday coming up, we'd really like to get it taken care of today if we can. It feels like finally checking off something that had been sitting on my list for a long time. I can go into the break feeling lighter. I'm excited that he might meet the tooth fairy right before the holiday. Right, Christmas is for Santa, one visitor at a time. In Korea, when kids lose a tooth, they throw it onto the roof. People believe that if a magpie takes it, it will bring back a new pretty tooth in return. It's fascinating that such similar traditions exist in different cultures. How did we all end up thinking along the same lines? Is the testing between 4 and 5? I'll make sure to stay out of the room during that time. I really went far beyond what I had expected far beyond. I even thought that if no one showed up, I'd use the quiet time to write down the names of all the students in the classes I go into. I prepared myself for no one coming, but I never imagined it would get so crowded that people would be lining up. On top of that, I made a poor call. I thought I'd lightly pencil in the tassel colors and names first and then hand them out after the performance. But people just kept coming and the work kept piling up. People kept coming and the work kept piling up. Before I knew it, things had snowballed. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to clean up before I left yesterday. I planned to come in early this morning to take care of it, but you had already cleaned everything up. I really appreciate it, and I'm sorry. To make things worse, in the middle of the night, my younger child had an accident in bed. I thought we were done with potty training, but he has a hard time sitting long enough to go. He ends up holding it until there's an accident in a place he really shouldn't. Your teacher left a gift for you with your parents, so make sure to check after school. This has to stay a secret because my budget is tight, and the other kids can't know. Over the weekend, Jinwoo performed in a drum concert. He was the youngest performer, so he got extra encouragement and applause. He felt a little shy about playing in front of a crowd at first, but he ended up enjoying it. I think he wants to get better and play like the older kids. I'm glad he's starting to dream big. My husband said he teared up watching Jinwoo stick with it and finish strong, even after making a few mistakes. Taking care of one child, or even two, is a completely different story from managing a whole group. When you're disciplining kids, your voice naturally gets louder, and sometimes you end up snapping. Even with just 2 kids of my own, I still yell or lose my temper sometimes. You just don't see that part. Nobody knows what happens behind the scenes. Still, I really appreciate you thinking highly of me. Good for you. That was a great choice. I know how hard that was. It's going to do wonders for your mental health. I know I'm already aware of it. But at the time, everything felt so urgent that I didn't see any other option. With just a little guidance on the side, he quickly finds his direction and figures out what to do on, then goes even further than expected. He often exceeds both my support and my predictions. He's incredibly smart, isn't afraid to speak in front of others, and willingly helps his classmates. He's especially good at picking up on when someone is feeling sad and sitting with them in that feeling. He's such a loving child and is always trying to help others. Please let me know which color you prefer and which name you'd like to use. Any color, any name is fine. I'm sorry this is getting to you so late. I know I had your name and preferred color written down, but while I was cleaning up, everything got mixed up and some things even went missing. Korean dramas often highlight only the brighter side of Korea. But the truth is, there's a darker side as well, things like deep-rooted prejudice and a high suicide rate. Korea has a strong culture of shame. For example, if a minor becomes pregnant, I've heard that in the US, schools often provide accommodations like seating for pregnant students or lactation rooms, creating a system to support both the student and the baby. In Korea, however, once a student gives birth, she is often forced to drop out and can't continue her education. That makes it much harder to move on to higher education or employment later. Unable to withstand the stigma and judgment, being labeled as morally fallen, there are tragic cases reported where babies are abandoned or even killed shortly after birth. Are you familiar with the concept of baby boxes? In Korea, they were run privately through personal sacrifice for a long time, and only within the past 5 years have they been legalized and taken on as a responsibility of the state. What is happiness? I think when you put off what you're supposed to do, unhappiness builds up just as much. But when you live each day doing what needs to be done, guided by your conscience, there's a sense of fulfillment and happiness that comes back to you. This job exists along that same line and then goes even further. I receive so much unconditional love from my students. That's my greatest reward and what keeps me moving forward. Kids don't calculate, they just love openly. They work so hard to remember names, to call out your name, and to wrap you up in the tightest hugs to show how much they care. Leaving my first school in the middle of the school year was incredibly hard because I couldn't stop thinking about those kids. I graduated from college in Korea and didn't have any formal background in education. After graduating, I worked at a bank. I applied to several schools in the US, but I didn't make it past the paperwork stage anywhere. Then one day, I saw a job fair announcement in an email from my oldest child's school. I went that very week. The people who wanted to interview me right away were the department chair and the principal. There wasn't an opening at the time, so I just introduced myself and left. A few weeks later, I got a call. It wasn't the position I wanted, but I started as a long-term substitute. A few months later, the school approached me and offered me the role I had originally hoped for. My salary increased, and I became eligible for benefits and a pension. That's how my career began. When I think about it, I'm proud of myself. I really believe that not staying still, that choosing to start something, is what matters most. During winter break, we traveled to Florida. Traveling feels expensive even when you're just breathing. On the first day, we grabbed breakfast and went out for what we thought would be a short walk. Then ended up turning the car around and heading straight to Legoland. Everyone was wearing slippers, and my youngest was even in pajama pants. It was a poor call. There was a lot of walking and a lot of waiting. The kids' favorite attractions were Ninjago and the area where they could drive cars and earn a driver's license. Since they're still young, one day was more than enough, and I thought that buying a fast pass would have allowed us to hit all the must-do rides in a single day. Even if kids are a bit older, if they still nap, a stroller or wagon is essential. My child fell asleep while we were in line, and I carried him, shifted him from one arm to the other, and waited for 30 minutes. By the time it was our turn, my arms were completely numb. As soon as you enter, go straight for the most popular attractions first. After that, slow down, eat, drink, and take time to look around. When a child is in a crowded, noisy place, their disability becomes more noticeable. But nature has room for everything. In nature, even a child's disability fades into the background and no longer defines them. Going forward, when we plan trips, I think we'll try to book places near parks, libraries, or open spaces where the kids can just run around and soak up some sunlight. During this trip, our whole family was sick almost the entire time. We were coughing nonstop, and after one day of swimming, my child got so sick that we had to go to the doctor and get antibiotics. We actually chose the hotel carefully. The food was good, the pool was warm, and the view was great. But it was really disappointing that we couldn't take full advantage of any of it because we were sick. We struggled with coughing the whole trip, and only started to feel better right as we were heading home. I've realized that staying in a hotel for about 3 days is just right. Anything longer than that, especially when someone is sick, starts to feel like being trapped. Being stuck together in a small space, 24/7 made my child's disability stand out even more. I found myself constantly trying to stop repetitive behaviors, which led to frequent clashes with my child. I also caught myself snapping at my kids more often than I'd like to admit. I don't know why it feels easier to be patient and generous with others, but so much harder with my own children. Parents are human too. Living through the same challenges day after day while also feeling watched by others is incredibly stressful. Staying composed takes an enormous amount of effort, and when that effort keeps adding up, exhaustion is inevitable. That's completely natural. I really believe it's important for parents to take turns carving out time for themselves. Releasing that stress is essential. For some people, that might look like exercising. For others, it might be socializing. For me, I recharge when I'm by myself. I'm truly sorry to bring this up so suddenly, but I need to let you know that I will have to step away from my position. I'm deeply sorry that I won't be able to finish out the semester and that I'm leaving in the middle of the school year. I know how difficult it is to hire someone mid-semester, and I sincerely apologize for the inconvenience. The reason is that my husband is relocating his job to Boston. We considered having the children and me stay here until the semester ends while he moves on his own, but our children are still very young, and managing everything by myself would be overwhelming. The financial strain of running two households is also significant. More importantly, I believe living together as a family is better for our children's emotional well-being. As we prepare to move, I want to make sure Jinwoo continues to receive special education services at his new school. Will we need to reopen his IEP in order to transfer services? Also, he has been taking private drum lessons that we've been paying for out of pocket, and if possible, we would love to continue those lessons with public support. Would that require adding specific language to his IEP and holding another meeting?